So friends, Donald Trump's Department of Justice has signaled that it intends to dismiss, or really more accurately, to withdraw criminal charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. And it sure looks like they are preparing to hold those charges over the head of Mayor Adams. To what end? You know, friends, this is no way to run a Department of Justice. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, a federal grand jury handed down a 57-page indictment detailing the allegations against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and specifically charging Adams with conspiracy and bribery and wire fraud and other crimes. And even though the evidence in that 57-page indictment looks strong, Donald Trump's Department of Justice is seeking to dismiss the case against him. Let's start with the new reporting. This from CBS News. Justice Department tells prosecutors to drop case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. And that article begins, the Department of Justice told federal prosecutors in New York to drop their corruption case against New York Mayor Eric Adams, citing his restricted ability to help the Trump administration enforce its immigration policies. You know, friends, this is a special kind of lawlessness and a really nefarious kind of leverage it appears Trump's DOJ is exerting against Eric Adams. We'll talk more about that leverage in a minute. The article continues. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove sent a memo instructing prosecutors in the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office to abandon the charges. Quote, you are directed, as authorized by the Attorney General, to dismiss the pending charges, Bove wrote in a memo Monday, adding that the department reached this conclusion without assessing the strength of the evidence or the legal theories on which the case is based, and in no way calls into question the integrity and efforts of the prosecutors who brought the case. Instead, Bove wrote that the timing of the charges and the former U.S. attorney who brought the case created appearances of impropriety, and that the probe into Adams' office has unduly restricted Mayor Adams' ability to devote full attention and resources to the illegal immigration and violent crime that occurred in his city under President Joe Biden. Bove added that the charges against Adams can be reconsidered by the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors, after the November 2025 New York City mayoral election. And what that sounds like to me is Donald Trump's DOJ saying, so look, Adams, we will be holding these charges over your head, so you best do as we say. The article continues. The stunning decision comes after department lawyers met with Adams' attorneys and Manhattan federal prosecutors in late January, where senior officials discussed dropping the charges against the embattled mayor. In September, Adams was indicted on 5 counts, including bribery, conspiracy, and campaign finance violations. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. The mayor's trial is scheduled to begin in April. The decision to drop the charges will still need to be formally submitted by prosecutors and approved by the judge overseeing the case. Friends, I think by any objective assessment of what's going on here, this is a stunning example of governmental misconduct. FBI agents and undoubtedly lots of other law enforcement agents and agencies, but FBI agents and federal prosecutors, public servants, all undoubtedly worked their tails off investigating these suspected crimes and presenting what was almost certainly a mountain of evidence to a grand jury and obtained a public corruption indictment detailing the alleged crimes of Eric Adams. And Donald Trump's dirty DOJ just brushes it all aside. You know, what an insult to the FBI agents, to the federal prosecutors, to the grand jurors, and the many others who worked to put this important public corruption case together. And what a victimization of the people of New York. So friends, what are three of the many takeaways from this horrific development, this searing abuse and injustice? Well, first of all, this decision to dismiss these charges or withdraw them and potentially hold them over Eric Adams' head has nothing to do with the strength of the evidence supporting these criminal charges. How do we know that? Because Donald Trump's DOJ told us so. It said that the department reached this conclusion without assessing the strength of the evidence. Friends, once a case has been indicted, the strength of the evidence is pretty much the only thing that should come into play when prosecutors are considering dismissing an indictment that they worked so hard to obtain and that a grand jury handed down. No, it should be based only on the strength, the quality, the quantity of the evidence, the ability of the prosecutors to use that evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But Donald Trump's Department of Justice said, has nothing to do with the strength of the evidence, but it has everything to do with something else, according to Donald Trump's Department of Justice. Takeaway number two, it's all about Eric Adams' restricted ability to help the Trump administration. Friends, can you imagine that? Has nothing to do with the strength of the evidence. Rather, it has everything to do with Eric Adams' ability to help Donald Trump and his administration. This is the legal upside down. This is not the way the criminal justice system is supposed to work. And that brings us to the third takeaway. With these cases being dismissed, but they can be rebrought, they can be reindicted at the pleasure of the Department of Justice, Donald Trump's Department of Justice. And they are being dismissed or withdrawn because they expect Eric Adams to help the Trump administration, in undefined ways, immigration, fighting violent crime. Yeah, right, sure. What do you think Eric Adams will do to keep these charges from being dropped on his head anew, as Donald Trump's Department of Justice said they are prepared to do? Talk about leverage. Do we suspect Eric Adams would do damn near anything the Trump administration wanted him to do to keep from being reindicted? Friends, this is not the way the Department of Justice is supposed to operate. Because justice matters. Friends, try to hang in there. Please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.